Solana has been performing quite poorly in the last weeks, and this is no surprise because on-chain we also see less and less usage of the blockchain. Now the question is, will this turn around at some point? Does it make sense to continue holding Solana? Does it make sense to potentially even double down and buy the bottom? Let's have a look at some data most people are not considering. So have a look at this. Solana is the sixth largest cryptocurrency and it lost almost 13% in the last week, while Bitcoin itself was pretty much just steady. It didn't move much. Now to me, this is not entirely a surprise. What we see here is Solana's dominance. So how much of all of crypto is in SOL? The reason why I like those kind of charts is because we always want to get outperformance with an altcoin, right? The reason why we don't buy just Bitcoin, but potentially also buy other cryptocurrencies is because despite all of the correlation, we want to get more performance by taking on more risk. And the dominance charts are a good representation of how well a cryptocurrency does within the crypto space. Now what we see here is the performance in the last year, roughly a bit more than that. We have been trading in a somewhat constant range between 3.6% of all of crypto being in Solana down to 2.6, potentially 2.3%. Currently, we are rather on the lower end of that trading range. Now, of course, this is not the first video on Solana on this channel, and we have been discussing this dominance chart already a while back. And it's not entirely surprising that we saw a correction, right? We had seen that resistance before. And so is the potential reward of 40% worth the potential risk of 11%? Maybe, but there are some red flags. The first one is simply when we zoom out, right? This is Solana's dominance over the longer term. So this chart starts now in the middle of 2021. And from November of 2021 to December of 2022, Solana underperformed the rest of crypto by 84%. The reason for the subsequent rally was the adoption of meme coins, right? This was the launch of the pump.fun ecosystem. And the question is, what's going to happen next? This is what this video is trying to answer. Now, Solana's run was pretty impressive because in all of decentralized finance, Solana did much better than the rest. This here is how much capital is in decentralized finance across all blockchains. And we had our DeFi summer in 2021, where all of the capital peaked at 173 billion roughly. Then we had the massive destruction of capital where Terra Luna collapsed and FTX went bust as well. Then a recovery, but with that recovery, all of crypto actually did not see a new all-time high. This is different to Solana. Solana did outperform its previous all-time high. In the last month, its capital shrunk by roughly 1/3, and we're going to look at the reasons for that in a second. Now, the market as a whole seems to be cooling off. There isn't as much interest in crypto now. When we look at the social metrics, for example, people aren't searching for Bitcoin or for crypto that much anymore. People also aren't speculating as much anymore. And as such, it's especially the high flyers of yesterday that currently get punished the most. Have a look at the worst performing categories within crypto in the last week. We find Politify, so this is the Donald Trump token mainly. We've got cat-themed tokens, we've got Elon Musk-inspired tokens, we've got a lot of those very risky tokens like AI agents and meme coins that currently get punished. What I find fascinating about the current situation is that there's still a lot of capital on-chain for Solana. Even though it contracted quite a bit recently, there's still much more capital compared to the trading activity. What we've got on the left is the Solana decentralized exchange trading volume over time, and this peaked massively at more than 800 billion in December of last year and since then normalized. What we see on the right is how much liquidity is provided for those decentralized exchanges. Now, usually there should be some kind of a connection because the more trading activity there is, the more it attracts capital because trading generates trading fees and trading fees goes to the capital providers. So when there's no trading happening anymore and this continues to decline, we should also expect that at some point the liquidity will decline. Now, the recent data point is already lower. The question is, how much lower will it go? What we've got over here is the number of traders on the left, and Solana saw a massive influx of traders, more than 30 million in a week. Again, that peaked in 2024. Since then, it's declining. And so one has to wonder what is causing that decline. But let's zoom out a little bit. Let's think about the very long term, right? Let's talk about the tokenomics. Because at the face of it, it seems like Solana does get more used by long-term investors. Not necessarily by the short-term meme coin traders, but by the long-term investors. What we've got here on the right is the Solana that gets staked in liquid staking protocols. And this continues to go up since August of 2021. But here's the caveat. Unfortunately, not everything is sunshine and rainbows. Since August of 2021, the supply of Solana went up by 68%, or roughly 200 million. Solana is a proof of stake protocol, and so when we stake Solana, we get more Solana back in the future. Staking gets incentivized, and so the Solana supply expands over time. Unfortunately, the staking itself did not go up by 200 million, right? It only went up by a bit under 40 million. So Solana is still a strongly inflating token. The tokenomics aren't as great compared to, say, Bitcoin. If we bet on Solana to outperform Bitcoin, we are betting at the same time that Solana will grow faster than Bitcoin going forward. Now we see how this is not happening in the last few weeks, but will this maybe turn around? That's the question of the day. What we've got over here is the number of deployed transactions on the pump.fun ecosystem. So this is how much is pump.fun getting used to launch new projects. And unfortunately, that has also peaked. There was a peak in November of 2024, then a very similar peak at the end of January of this year. And since then, we are declining. What we've got over here is the fee revenue from pump.fun. It's also not necessarily going up anymore since beginning of the year. And this is probably one of the most useful charts in this video. What we see on the left is the number of monthly transactions on Solana. And what we've got on the right is how much of those transactions are pump.fun ecosystem driven. So we saw a massive expansion of meme coin trading up until August of 2024. Since then, we don't see how pump.fun is growing faster than the rest of Solana. So the pump.fun ecosystem obviously created a lot of growth, but that growth is now slowing down. Here's another metric that shows that slowed growth. It's the number of new addresses over time. This peaked again in November of last year at 150,000 on a single day. And now it's only 1/3 of that. And so that's the problem, right? Meme coin trading is 100% player versus player. And the people that are very skilled in meme coin trading, that know all the analytics, that track various wallets, that can buy early and that have a market edge, they tend to accumulate more and more capital over time. And the people that aren't that skilled, that maybe just started off, they tend to lose money and they tend to exit the system. So over time, we've got more and more capital concentrated in fewer and fewer hands. Thus, activity tends to go down over time. There is a saturation point for meme coin trading, and it looks like we have already seen that point. What we've got over here is the Solana blockchain, and we've got the trending tokens ordered by their liquidity pool size. Of course, official Trump token is at number 1. But just have a look at this list, right? It's pretty much all just meme coin trading on Solana is just driven by short-term speculation. And again, short-term speculation favors the people that know the game better than the others. This is not just random. This is not just luck. This has to do partially with skill. And because of that skill component, over time, the winners take most. Now, since Solana is one of the largest cryptocurrencies, it also has to compare itself with the other larger cryptocurrencies. We can't compare Solana, say, to a small altcoin, because small altcoins, of course, they can go down more during a bear market, but they also have way more upside potential because they aren't that large in market cap. For a cryptocurrency that's pretty large in market cap, we have to simply just see this as a long-term investment. And so we've already looked at how Solana didn't do that well in the last 7 days, but let's have a look at the long term. So this is Solana relative to Bitcoin. How much better are we off by taking on more risk buying Solana over Bitcoin? And surprise, surprise, if you bought Solana during the depression in June of 2023, and then you held it over Bitcoin until the end of 2023, you outperformed Bitcoin by more than 5x or more than 400%. Since then, and this is still when the pump.fund ecosystem continued to grow, since then, Solana actually did not do better than Bitcoin. From December of 2023 to today, SOL underperformed Bitcoin by almost 40%. It's also fascinating how Solana was able to hit a new all-time high in terms of its total value locked in DeFi, but it was not able to hit a new all-time high versus Bitcoin. Bitcoin still did better than Solana. And so here is how I see the macro picture. It looks like over time, more and more capital is flowing into Bitcoin because people start to understand that most altcoins tend to underperform Bitcoin most of the time. On top of that, we've also got two kinds of capital inflows. We've got the inflows through the Bitcoin ETF. We've also got the inflows through the centralized exchanges. Traditional finance or Wall Street isn't getting much more crypto exposure besides Bitcoin. They're simply just focusing on BTC. And so that's then what's causing this chart here. And this is the Bitcoin dominance, a very long-term chart starting in 2016. Sometimes Bitcoin is a lot of all of crypto, and sometimes the altcoins rally a lot and Bitcoin underperforms. So when this is crashing down, this means we've got an altcoin season. Isn't it interesting how altcoin season tends to happen when Bitcoin's dominance is above 70%? So it tended to peak at around 73%. Currently, the Bitcoin dominance is only at 61%, and we are growing slowly over time, again, mainly fueled by the ETF and by people just getting tired of active trading. Have a look at the return of altcoins in the last 90 days. Most altcoins did not do that well. The question is, at what point here do we see Bitcoin? The answer is Bitcoin is at place number 26. So only 25 out of 100 altcoins outperformed Bitcoin. All the others, so 74, underperformed Bitcoin. When we look at the numbers for the last year, it's very similar. There's only 20 altcoins that outperformed Bitcoin. So again, most altcoins tend to do worse than Bitcoin over time. Really, there are two ways to make money in crypto. Either we try to find the needle in the haystack, right? The one altcoin that does a multiple X return. And during a bull market, this can be a viable strategy, especially if we've got a lot of on-chain analytics. But during a market that is not expanding that quickly anymore, it's a very, very dangerous game to play. The second approach, and the much less common approach, is to get the odds in our favor, not against our favor. So we don't try to find the 25% that outperform. We just bet on the 75% to continue to underperform. So we bet on falling prices of altcoins that we think are especially weak. For example, here, right? I've shown this several times on this channel. This is the Balancer altcoin. So that's a decentralized finance token relative to Bitcoin. And this is a very constant underperformance, and we can make money with that underperformance. In the last year, Balancer underperformed Bitcoin by 75%. This can be alpha. We can make money 75% in a year when we bet on Balancer doing worse than BTC. The reason for the underperformance is, of course, tokenomics, and this is why most altcoins do so poorly. Over time, the early investors and the team gets token unlocks, right? They get more and more allocation that they can then sell, and of course, after a while, they do sell, right? After years of development and after years of waiting, they do sell the allocation, and that then makes those altcoins do worse compared to Bitcoin. Of course, when all of crypto is going up, then the altcoins go up as well in US dollars, but they don't go up more than BTC. That's why we see this long-term underperformance. And so I made various tutorial videos on that approach, right? On not trying to find the one lottery ticket, on simply just compounding money high and consistent over time. So this is how to win in bear markets by shorting altcoins. There are more than 100 tutorial videos in total. This is all part of premium. It's not just all about betting on falling prices. It's also about risk management. It's also about portfolio allocation. It's also about on-chain analytics. So feel free to check it out. It's currently $125 US per month, and there's also a 1-week money back guarantee. So in case you don't like premium, just message me within the first 7 days. Feel free to binge watch all the videos. Message me after 7 days, and if you did not get enough value out of it, I'll refund you 100%. Really, zero questions asked. There's zero risk for you. Looking forward to seeing you again here on YouTube. Feel free to also give this video a like. It helps the channel grow, and of course, see you also in premium. Cheers.